Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. And this is part 4 of the best designed .30 caliber cartridge series. Stay tuned. All right, you see the current bracket. Today's matchups will be 30-06 versus 300 WSM, 308 versus 300 Savage, 300 Weatherby Magnum versus 300 Winchester Magnum, and 300 PRC versus 300 Rum. All right, so you see the Elite 8. These are going to be some pretty tough matchups. Let's not waste any time and let's just get into it. All right, let's start out with a 308 Winchester versus the 300 Savage. Something that these cartridges have in common is they both attempted to duplicate the performance of the 30-06 in a short action. The 308 came much closer to doing that. Both of these cartridges I would consider very efficient modern cartridge designs, even though one came out in the 50s and one came out in 1920. Both of them were ahead of their time. Both can be utilized in a lever action rifle just fine, but both also are probably best utilized in a bolt action rifle. The 308 is just a slightly bigger case. It has a little bit better max pressure, or a little bit greater max pressure potential. And it's just going to drive the bullet a little bit faster, having more energy. So it's just really, performance-wise, is a step up from the 300 Savage. The 300 Savage does similar performance with a little bit less recoil. So really it's a matter of personal preference, and it's a subjective thing, but to me, it's really easy. The 308 wins, and I have a lot of respect for the 300 Savage. It's really a cool cartridge, way ahead of its time. But to me, there's a reason you don't see the 300 Savage around anymore. Same reason you don't see the 30TC around anymore. It's just kind of trying to perform the same thing the 308's doing better. Both cartridges are great designs. And the design goal of both cartridges was to replace the 30-06 in a more efficient, shorter action. One cartridge did not do that, though it's a great cartridge, the 300 Savage. One cartridge actually did do that regarding military use. The M14 replaced the M1 Garand, and it achieved its goal. And for all intents and purposes, it's very, very similar to the 30-06, especially with lighter weight bullets. It's not going to be quite as good, you know. It's not going to reach quite the same performance potential, but it's right there. And it's just a great cartridge. And it's very suitably designed for a lighter weight, shorter barrel rifle. And in all honesty, in 2023, it's just as serviceable, usable as it ever has been. So this is an easy win for me, the 308 Winchester. All right, next up, the 300 Weatherby Magnum versus the 300 Winchester Magnum. So we have a matchup here of two cartridges that are both based on the 300 H&H case, like I talked about in a previous part of this series. And the big difference, well, there's a few differences, but the big difference is the overall length. So the 300 Weatherby just takes the full length 300 H&H and modernizes it, expands it out, makes it a much bigger case volume inside. And then the 300 does the same thing, but in a shorter overall length to fit inside of a standard action. So one's a Magnum length derivative of the 300 H&H, one's a standard length derivative of the 300 H&H. This is the first one that is really, really, really tough. This is a tough call for me. I've had a lot of tough calls, and there's been a lot of close calls. The 300 PRC and the 30 Nozzle was a pretty hard decision, and this is an equally hard decision. Now, once again, this is about the design of the cartridge, not about availability or popularity or anything like that, unless I have to break a tie. And without question, the 300 Win Mag is more popular than the 300 Weatherby Magnum. So if it was based on popularity, the 300 Win Mag wins hands down. Having said that, the 300 Weatherby, I would say, is by far the most popular Weatherby cartridge and is pretty mainstream. So it's not like it's an obscure cartridge by any stretch of the imagination. Both are widely used, and widely accepted as phenomenal big game hunting cartridges. And really the only other big difference is just the shoulder and the neck. The Weatherby has the Venturi double radius shoulder and that longer neck for those heavier bullets, or just to not take up case capacity. And the 300 Win Mag has a more standard shoulder, and it has a shorter neck because its overall goal is to fit into a standard action and yet still get a ton of velocity. So really, when you think about it, both cartridges met their design goals and did exactly what they wanted to do. Which design do I think is better? I'm gonna lean toward the 300 Weatherby. I just feel like if you're going to take that H&H case and you're going for power, leave it at the full length size, give it a longer neck. It's just gonna be better at delivering that payload and a better hunting cartridge on big game. If that's the intended goal and design of the cartridge, why not go a little further, you know? So here's a very controversial statement, but I think the 300 Weatherby did a better job at redesigning or reimagining the 300 H&H than did the 300 Win Mag. Now let me take a step back for you 300 Win Mag fans. It's a fantastic cartridge. And another way to look at this is Winchester maybe designed it better. If you're looking at sales, popularity, marketing, they probably did a better job. And so in that sense, maybe the design was better. But just for me, thinking about hunting and thinking about getting the most out of a cartridge, I'm gonna go with the 300 Weatherby Magnum. All right, next up is the 300 PRC from Hornady versus the 300 Remington Ultra Magnum. Before I say anything, let's just take a look and kind of do an up close at both of these cartridges. Let's look at this 300 PRC. 5.32 at the base, 5.15 at the point of the shoulder. So very small taper, 30-degree shoulder angle. Overall 2.580 on the case length. However, it is a maximum cartridge overall length of 3.7. It is made to fit into a Magnum length action. 1-in-8 twist, 24-inch barrel. 150 grain, going about 35.50. 180 grain, going about 32. 220 grain, going 28.75. And then 250 grain, which the rum would not be capable of doing, going about 2,700. 300 Remington Ultra Magnum, also a Magnum length overall, cartridge length, but look at the case, it's 2.850, much bigger, or sorry, much longer case, and wider, 5.50 to 5.25, so it's just a wider and longer case. Although the cartridge overall length will be about the same, 30-degree shoulder angle, the same, which is also the same. 26-inch barrel, 1-in-10 twist. 150 grain bullet, going about 35.50. 180 grain bullet, going about 32.50. 220 grain bullet, topping out around 29.50. And the 220 grain bullets, basically 225 grain bullets, basically where it's going to top out at, going, having that 1-in-10 twist. All right, in the PRC, a 220 grain bullet with reloader 25, 76.2 grains to get 28.50. And 220 grain bullet in the rum with reloader 25 takes 90.3 to get 29.50. So there's about 100 feet per second difference, giving the advantage to the rum as far as muzzle velocity and energy. However, think how much more powder it took the rum compared to the PRC. PRC having a 24-inch barrel, rum having a 26-inch barrel. Even though I really do like this rum, and it's much more modern and efficient than I thought it was, and I am liking it, no question the PRC is more efficient. I think overall, both cartridges are very well designed, very modern, and that would probably be obvious statement for the 300 PRC, being that it just came out a few years ago. It's obviously well designed. All of Hornady's cartridges seem to be, but the 300 rum is the same. It was ahead of its time, very well designed. I really give props to both. Both are going to deliver energy on target even at pretty long distances. And they're both great hunting cartridges. They're both going to do what they're intending to do well. I guess where I see the difference is the PRC is attempting to do this. Yes, it's got a lot of case capacity. Yes, it's going to be burning a lot of powder and shooting the bullet fast, but it's more thinking about the energy it can get out of the bullet. With the Rum is how much energy can we get out of the case. Once again, both have a lot of case capacity, both burn a lot of powder, but one specifically designed for heavier bullets. One is designed for versatile, because any 30 caliber with a 1 in 10 twist is going to be versatile, and you can get heavy bullets, but it's not designed for the heaviest of bullets. So the majority of the energy that the 300 Rum is going to get is from the excess of powder and the excess of muzzle velocity. And the majority of the energy, well, at least a big part of the energy that the PRC is going to get is not just from the velocity, from powder being burned at the muzzle, but also from the heavy bullet getting a very high BC, heavy, streamlined, aerodynamic bullet that's also going to retain a lot of energy downrange and not lose it as fast. So it's not that one's better than the other, it's just what are you looking for? Now when we talk about energy, we have to talk about recoil. The more energy, the more recoil. That could be from a heavy bullet. The heavier the bullet is, the more recoil. Also, the higher the muzzle velocity is, the more recoil, right? And then when you combine the two, that's when you see the excessive recoil. The 300 Rum, so let's say that they both shot the same grain bullet, let's say 180 grain bullet. The 300 Rum is going to have a lot more recoil because shooting that bullet a lot faster. I lean toward the 300 PRC because I just think the 300 Rum is a little too much. It's a little more than is needed. However, I guess if you're shooting a moose at 500 yards, maybe you want as much energy as possible. I just think it's a little too much. And for me personally, of course, I don't want a Rum. I personally don't have any need to have anything like that. The more energy and velocity with the same weight bullet that the Rum is going to give me, it's just going to give me a lot more recoil. And it's just not necessary in my opinion. Having said that, if I go with the heaviest 240, 250 grain bullet out of the PRC, that's going to have significant recoil also. So it really just comes down to, if you're going to have a little bit of punishment and you're going to have high energy downrange, how do you want to get there? You want to get there with just more powder, faster muzzle velocity, or do you want to get there with decent powder volume, decent muzzle velocity, but the heaviest high BC bullet? And it's a very tough call, it really is. Going in, I thought it would be an easy call. I thought I was going to lean toward the 300 PRC. But the more I've thought about it, the more it's a tough call. The 300 Rum is a dang good cartridge. Much better than I thought it was. Same with the 30 Nosler. Both of those cartridges, the more I look into them, the better I think they are and the better design they are. I'm just going to have to give it to the 300 PRC, even though it's much closer than I thought. I just feel like it's overall a slightly better design. And if I am going to be shooting at, an elk or something at 400 to 500 yards, I just want that heavy missile coming out of the sky. And I just feel like I like that design philosophy slightly better. But man, they're both great cartridges. But I'm going to give the win to the 300 PRC. All right, next up, 30-06 Springfield versus the 300 Winchester Short Magnum. This is the one I've been dreading the most. And I say dreading because it doesn't matter what I pick, I'm going to have somebody that's upset, and I'm going to be upset. If I pick the 300 Short Mag, I'm going to be upset that one of my favorite all-time cartridges has been knocked off the list. If I pick the 30-06, I'm still going to be upset because I really love, it's a personal fan favorite of the 300 Winchester Short Magnum. Now, I will tell you, I have no personal experience with the 300 WSM. I do have a lot of experience with the 30-06. But that's not what this is about. This is not about personal experience with a particular rifle in that chambering. It's about just the design philosophy of the cartridge. So I feel like I can make as objective as possible choice without having shot them both extensively. I talked a lot about in the video where I matched up the 300 RCM versus the 30-06 that even though the RCM was more modern and probably a little bit more efficient than the 30-06, I really like everything about the 30-06. I like its design philosophy. I like what they were going after, and it stood the test of time. 2 world wars, massive success in the hunting world. It's still popular today, over 100 years later, and that should tell you it's a great design. I mean, come on, you know? And it feeds well, it's got long barrel life, it's versatile. However, that versatility really comes from it being a 30 caliber, and so that's not really a factor here because all these cartridges are all versatile. Some are more versatile than others, especially the shorter cases, the really short cases. They just don't have enough room, or if you do seat the bullet way down in the chamber, you're going to lose some velocity. So in that case, they might not be as versatile, but kind of throwing out the versatility, 30-06 just has a lot of great design philosophies, a lot of great ideas that was implemented well and has been copied time and time and time again, and is really the standard and the benchmark for what a great cartridge should be. The 300 WSM is the last standing 30 caliber short mag that's on this list. I consider it the best. It's just a really well designed cartridge. Its design goal, as far as I'm concerned and from what I've read, was just to simply duplicate the 300 Win Mag's performance in a short action. And it did that. I personally like it better than the 300 Winchester Magnum for that reason, because it just simply, it seems like a better designed version of the same thing. You know, it's coming from the Jeffries case, it doesn't have the belt, it's in a short action, and it just seems like an overall better design than the 300 Win Mag. And I really like it, duplicates the performance. There are some drawbacks compared to the 300 Win Mag, but that's not what this is about. This is how it compares to the 30-06. There's the Winchester Short Magnum. 5.55 at the base, 5.38 here. Not much taper, 35-degree shoulder angle, 2.1 on the overall case length, 2.86 on the cartridge length, 1 in 10 twist, being shot at the 24-inch barrel. 150 grain bullet's going to top out around 3,400 feet per second. 180 grain bullet's going to top out around 3,000. And 220 grain bullet, if you chose to shoot that out of the 300 short mag, going about 2650. The good old 30-06. 470 at the base, 441 at that point right there. The beginning of the shoulder, a little bit more taper than the short mag, only a 17-degree shoulder angle, 2.494 overall case, 3.340 fit into a standard length action. For some reason, 23 3/4 inch barrel, 1 in 10 twist. 150 grain bullet, topping out around 3,000. 180 grain bullet, topping out around 2,750. 220 grain bullet, topping out around 2,550. 300 WSM is just gonna, same bullet, shoot at about 200 to 300 feet per second faster than the 30-06, but at the expense of more recoil. This is so tough. It's not an easy choice for me. Oh boy. So I feel like the 300 Winchester Short Magnum is definitely more efficient with that shorter, fatter case, with that 35-degree shoulder angle. I feel like you're just getting a definite increase in efficiency. So it kind of is like taking the performance of the 300 Winchester Magnum, but yet the efficiency of the 308, and putting that together. And what do you end up with? Well, you end up with a very efficient 300 Win Mag. I feel like the design of the 300 Winchester Short Magnum is better in our modern day. Just like I said with the RCM, if they both come out right now and they had never had any previous time in the sun, never fought wars or anything in the past, which one would I go with? I more than likely would lean toward the 300 WSM. If I wanted to travel the world and hunt big game all over the world, excluding the most dangerous game, both could do the job. Both have done the job, and the 30-06 has done the job for 100 years. I still feel like the 300 WSM would be better for that purpose. When it comes to speed and energy, there's really no advantage from the 30-06 to the 300 Short Mag. The 300 Short Mag is just a more powerful round. The advantage would be the 30-06 is going to have a little bit better barrel life, is going to potentially feed better. That's pretty much solved in today's modern day, but just from a design aspect, potentially feed better. It's definitely going to have less recoil. So it's not that having more speed and energy makes it automatically better. It doesn't. I just feel like they're so close. Both of their designs are so good that the braking factor I'm going to have to lean with is just the efficiency factor. They're both outstanding powerhouses in the 30 caliber. One just simply does it so much more efficiently. And so reluctantly, I'm going to give the win to the 300 Winchester Short Magnum. All right, winners have been put in the bracket, and here is your final four. 300 WSM versus 308 Winchester, 300 PRC versus 300 Weatherby Magnum. All right, so you see what the bracket looks like. It's been really tough. Final four is set, and those two matchups will be next. And I'm not sure, it just depends how long it takes me. I might just go ahead and do the final four and the championship in the next video. Might take one more, but we will see. I'll try to get it to you as soon as I can. I've enjoyed talking to you. It's been fun. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. And please comment whether you agree or disagree, and please explain why. And if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. Many more videos like this coming out, and other outdoor things as well. Thank you all for watching. Please check the description for several links to some other stuff that I got going on that you might want to be part of. And I got nothing else, so until next time, have a great day and take care.